Sometimes, all it takes is one moment, a glance, a word, a presence, for a woman's heart to start whispering things even she didn't know she craved. And yet, for so many men, the greatest mystery isn't how to impress a woman, but how to deeply move her. How to awaken that silent ache inside her soul, the one she hides beneath her strength, her smiles, her independence. She's not just looking for charm, attention, or the cliché moves you saw in some online video. No, a woman is yearning for something deeper, something that stirs her, touches her, and makes her feel like you see her. Not just her body, not just her beauty, but her mind, her story, her essence. So if you're sitting there thinking, why don't I ever seem to get past the surface? Or why does it always feel like I'm close, but never quite there? This message is for you, because what she truly desires may not be loud, but it's powerful. It's hidden beneath layers built by disappointment, fear, and silence. But when you know how to trigger that deep desire, she won't just want you, she'll feel you, and that changes everything, one. Make her feel safe in your presence. Even in her most vulnerable moments, there's a certain kind of safety that has nothing to do with locks on doors or muscles in arms. It's the kind of safety that allows a woman to breathe freely. The kind that lets her slowly exhale the weight she's been holding in her chest for years. You see, most women walk through life with walls, not because they want to be cold or distant, but because they've had to protect parts of themselves that have been ignored, misunderstood, or shattered. And when a man enters her life, it's not just about the charm he carries or the words he says. It's about how her soul responds to his presence. Does she feel like she has to be perfect to be loved? Or does she feel like she can fall apart and still be accepted? The deepest desire in a woman is often hidden beneath layers of independence and strength. She might smile confidently and speak boldly, but inside she might be wondering, if I show him the mess behind this smile, will he still stay? And that's where most men miss the mark. They want the highlight reel. They want the polished version. They want the softness, but not the story. But when you make her feel safe, when she knows that her tears won't make you uncomfortable, that her past won't make you run, and that her silence won't be punished with distance, then you've begun to unlock something powerful. Emotional safety is the soil where deep desire grows, because desire isn't just about passion, it's about trust. It's about the kind of connection that says, you don't have to hide here. When a woman feels like she doesn't need to filter her truth, when she knows that she can speak without being corrected or belittled, she starts to open. And it's not just her words that open, it's her heart, her affection, her loyalty. She starts to choose you in ways you didn't even ask for, not because you demanded it, but because she felt free enough to offer it. You want to know what makes a woman crave a man. It's not the money. Not the looks, not the car. It's how she feels when she's in his presence. It's when she realizes that she can be vulnerable without feeling weak. It's when she cries and he doesn't try to fix her, but simply holds the space for her emotions. It's when he listens without interrupting. It's when he remembers the little things she said weeks ago and brings them up like treasures. It's when he shows her, over and over again, that she doesn't have to carry everything alone. Some men think strength is about dominance, but to a woman, real strength is found in how gently you handle her softness. Real strength is in patience, in stillness, in the calm assurance that says, I've got you. When she knows that she won't be mocked for being sensitive, or blamed for her trauma, or guilted for not being okay all the time, that's when she starts to feel something deeper than attraction. She starts to feel safe enough to desire you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And here's the truth. A woman can be physically intimate with a man and still feel emotionally alone. She can go through the motions and still feel untouched. But when she feels safe, when she knows you're not here to use her, but to understand her, everything changes. Her laughter comes easier. Her eyes linger longer. Her affection deepens without hesitation. She becomes herself. Not the version of herself she's had to mold to survive, but the version that's been waiting to be loved, gently and fully. Many women don't even know how much they long for emotional safety until they feel it. And once they do, it's unforgettable. You don't have to be perfect to give a woman safety. You just have to be present. You just have to care enough to pause and ask, "How are you really doing?" and then actually listen. You just have to resist the urge to fix, to dominate, to impress, and instead simply be there, your consistency, your softness, your strength in silence. That's what tells her she's safe. There's something rare about a man who makes a woman feel safe without making her feel small. A man who sees all of her, not just the parts that are easy to love, and still stays, still shows up, still chooses her, even on the days she doesn't know how to choose herself. That man becomes unforgettable. That man becomes the home she never knew she was searching for. That man triggers a desire so deep, it doesn't fade when life gets messy. It grows, it strengthens, it anchors her. Because when a woman feels safe, she stops performing. She stops shrinking herself. She stops pretending. And in that raw, beautiful honesty, her heart starts to expand. Her desire turns into devotion. Her attraction turns into intimacy. She doesn't just want you. She begins to trust you with parts of her soul that no one else has ever touched. That's the power of safety. That's the beginning of something sacred. 2. Speak to her mind first. Before you ever try to touch her body, a woman's mind is her most powerful and intimate space. It's where her desire begins. It's where her walls are either raised or lowered. It's where her curiosity lives, where her emotions dwell, and where her feelings begin to shape into something real. If you want to stir something deep within her, if you want to create a connection that lingers long after you're gone, you don't start with her body. You start with her thoughts, with her dreams, with the parts of her that don't scream for attention but ache to be understood. Too many men chase the physical and miss the emotional. They memorize pickup lines, try to impress with surface charm, or flaunt status and appearance, thinking it will ignite something meaningful. But the truth is, desire doesn't bloom in pressure, it blossoms in presence. And if you can be the man who speaks not at her but to her, who meets her where her soul lives, you unlock a doorway most will never even get close to. It's in the way you ask thoughtful questions, not the usual "what do you do?" or "where are you from?" but the kind that touches her spirit. Ask her what she's passionate about. Ask her what breaks her heart. Ask her what her childhood taught her about love. Ask her what keeps her awake at night, not out of fear, but out of purpose. These aren't just words, these are keys. And when used with care, they open her slowly and sincerely. When a woman realizes that you want to know her, not just have her, her mind begins to dance. She starts to lean in. She listens to you differently. She watches how you treat the silence between your words. She notices how your eyes stay with hers when she speaks, not just scanning her figure or waiting for your turn to talk. She feels when your presence is patient, not predatory. That's when she starts to imagine herself unfolding in your hands, not because you reached for her, but because you reached into her. Connection starts with curiosity, not the kind that rushes, but the kind that lingers. If you make her feel that her thoughts are as beautiful as her face, she will want to give you more of herself, not out of pressure, not out of obligation, but out of freedom. You become the man she can think with, not just flirt with. The one she can share her chaos with, not just her calm. The one who doesn't need her to be perfect, just honest. Too many men chase what's visible and miss what's valuable. They want to touch her skin before they've ever touched her heart. But when you speak to her mind, you become a rare breed, because women are starving to be mentally engaged. They're exhausted from shallow conversations, from being seen as objects of convenience, from interactions that never reach beyond the surface. Be the man who feeds her intellect, who challenges her gently, who listens without trying to win, correct, or control. That man becomes unforgettable. And don't think this is about being poetic or overly polished. You don't need fancy words or rehearsed speeches. You just need honesty, realness, emotional intelligence. Speak from your own truth. Share your own fears, your hopes, your past, your flaws. Let her see that you're not just interested in who she is when she's made up and ready, but who she is when she's quiet, when she's raw, when she's real. When you engage a woman's mind, you don't just draw her closer, you create safety, depth, and intimacy. She starts to feel that you see her beyond her image. She feels that you want to understand her rhythm, not just enjoy her body, and that creates something rare, a connection that goes both ways, because when a woman feels emotionally fed, she gives emotionally. When she feels understood, she gives herself fully, not just physically. Some men wonder why women ghost them, why things fizzle out after the first few interactions. Often, it's not because you said the wrong thing. It's because you never made her feel anything. You never awakened her emotionally. You didn't ask anything that mattered. You didn't listen in a way that made her believe you cared. And for most women, no matter how beautiful or appealing you may be, if her mind is untouched, her heart remains closed. Desire isn't just about heat. It's about harmony. It's about being in tune with her, understanding the language of her silence as much as the tone of her voice. A woman feels desire when her mind is seen, when her thoughts are respected, and when her emotional world is not feared or dismissed. That's when she stops guarding herself. That's when her trust begins. And when a woman trusts you with her thoughts, she'll soon trust you with her love. When you speak to her mind first, her body responds naturally, not out of duty, but out of desire. Because now she doesn't feel used, she feels chosen, and that feeling, that inner knowing that you care more about who she is than what she looks like, that's what makes her crave you beyond the physical. That's what keeps her coming back, emotionally attached, mentally engaged, spiritually anchored. The way you enter her thoughts will determine how deeply she lets you into her life. Be the man who sees beneath the surface. Speak not just with your mouth, but with your presence, your patience, your attention. Speak to her mind, and her heart will respond in ways no physical touch ever could. 3. Stay consistent with the energy you used to win her. There's a kind of silence that women know too well. The silence that comes after the compliments fade, after the texts slow down, after the effort that once lit up her world begins to dim without warning. And that silence hurts more than most men realize. Because it tells her something she never wanted to believe, that maybe you only pursued her because you wanted to get her, not because you wanted to keep her. The truth is, consistency is the love language most women never speak out loud, but deeply crave. It's the invisible thread that tells her you meant what you said, even when life gets busy. It's what makes her feel secure, cherished, remembered. A woman doesn't just fall in love with how you show up in the beginning. She falls in love with who you continue to be when the excitement wears off, when comfort sets in, and when things get real. If the energy you brought when you were trying to impress her disappears once you feel like you've got her, then you never truly valued her in the first place. Because what triggers deep desire in a woman is knowing that she doesn't have to perform to keep your attention, that your admiration wasn't temporary, that the way you looked at her in the beginning, like she was a mystery worth unfolding, didn't vanish the moment you got comfortable. Consistency doesn't mean grand gestures every single day. It means staying emotionally present. It means checking in, even when the conversations aren't exciting. It means noticing the small changes, remembering the little things, and not waiting for her to ask for the attention she once received so freely. What makes a woman feel desired on the deepest level is when she doesn't have to wonder if your interest was real. She wants to know that she's not just a phase or a goal, but someone who continues to matter. Think about how you made her feel in the beginning, the good morning messages, the compliments that weren't just about how she looked, but how she made you feel. The way you listened, how your eyes locked with hers, the way you prioritized her in your day, that version of you made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. So what changed? Where did that energy go? Because to her, the shift isn't just disappointing, it's confusing, and confusion kills intimacy. You can't plant seeds of attention and expect flowers to keep blooming without care. Women notice when the energy fades. When your presence starts feeling like an obligation instead of a joy, when the spark that once made her feel seen now flickers with indifference, and what hurts isn't that the text stopped, it's that the intention stopped. That the man who once made her heart race now makes her feel unsure, and uncertainty is where desire begins to die. If you want to trigger something deep and lasting, be consistent with your words, your actions, your affection. Let her feel that you're not here just for the highs, but for the ordinary, the quiet, the everyday. Show her that your interest wasn't a performance, that you didn't just show your best self to get her attention, only to retreat once you felt secure. Because the truth is, most women have experienced this cycle before. The chase, the charm, the change, and it leaves scars. It teaches her not to trust early affection. It teaches her that maybe every good morning comes with an expiration date. Be the man who proves that her heart is not a game, that your interest is not based on novelty, but on genuine connection. Let your consistency speak louder than your promises. Let your actions say, I'm still here, I still choose you. Not because it's convenient, but because she's worth the same energy now as she was the day you met her. That kind of commitment creates a foundation where deep desire doesn't just begin, it thrives. Consistency builds trust, and trust feeds desire in ways that physical touch never can. When she knows you're not going to disappear the moment things get complicated, she lets herself open more. She feels safe enough to express more. She desires more, not because you demand it, but because you deserve it. You've shown her that you're not just another passerby, but someone who sees her, holds space for her, and stays when others would have left. Women don't expect you to be perfect. They expect you to be present, to be emotionally available, to keep the same level of care even when routine sets in. They know life gets busy, hard, messy, but what they're watching for is whether you still prioritize them when the excitement wears off. Do you still ask about her day? Do you still find ways to make her laugh? Do you still show her, in the smallest of ways, that she matters? Those are the moments that keep her connected to you, not out of fear, but out of desire. Because a woman who feels consistently loved, chosen, and valued is a woman who will give herself to you with a depth that words cannot explain. If you once made her feel like the center of your world, and now she feels like an afterthought, understand this: she won't chase you for long. Her heart may be soft, but her spirit is strong. She'll stop asking, she'll stop hoping, and one day she'll stop loving, not because she didn't care, but because you showed her she wasn't worth the effort you once gave freely. Don't let that happen. Be the man who follows through, who doesn't change just because the season does, who doesn't make her guess where she stands. When your energy remains consistent, she will desire you not just in passion, but in peace. And peace, for a woman, is the most seductive thing of all. Admire her when she's not trying to impress you. There's a sacred kind of beauty in a woman that shines brightest when she's not even trying. When her hair is messy, when she's laughing without checking if she looks good doing it, when she's curled up in oversized clothes, just being present in the moment. It's in these unguarded, unfiltered instances that you see her most authentically. And if you want to trigger a desire in her that runs deeper than attraction, if you want to reach her heart, not just her skin, you have to admire her when she's not performing, when she's not trying to be what the world expects. When she's simply being herself. You see, women are exhausted. Exhausted from the pressure to look a certain way, to sound a certain way, to always be composed, flawless, presentable. So when she meets someone who sees her beauty without the edits, without the makeup, without the performance, that's when she starts to melt. That's when she starts to feel. Because suddenly, she realizes she doesn't have to work for love. She doesn't have to earn desire. She doesn't have to hide her imperfections in fear that they'll make her less worthy. She can just be, and still be wanted. That kind of admiration is rare, because most people only celebrate the highlights. They only praise what's dressed up and displayed, but real connection happens in the quiet moments, in the mornings when her eyes are still sleepy, in the nights when her voice is soft and uncertain. In the raw moments when her heart speaks louder than her appearance, and when you choose to love her there, when you choose to say, "You're beautiful," and not when she's made up, but when she's real, that's when something changes inside her. She starts to feel seen, not for her effort, but for her essence, for her soul, for the parts of her she thought no one would ever notice, let alone love, and that kind of seeing, that kind of noticing. It triggers a desire so pure, so consuming, that no touch could ever compete with it, because now you're not just another man admiring her body. You've become someone who values her presence. You've become a safe place. A mirror that reflects back to her the parts she never believed were worthy. Think about what that does to a woman's heart. Think about how healing it is for her to be told, "I love the way your eyes light up when you talk about something you're passionate about." Or "You're breathtaking" when you're just sitting there, lost in thought. These aren't just compliments, they're affirmations. They tell her she's allowed to exist without always trying to impress. They tell her that the version of herself that the world never claps for is the one that makes your heart skip a beat. It's in the details, the way she talks with her hands, the little pause before she says something vulnerable. The way her voice changes when she's nervous, the way she hums when she's focused. When you point those things out gently, sincerely, you awaken something deep inside her because you're not loving the surface. You're loving the substance, and that's what stays. That's what makes her desire you not just with her body, but with her soul. Because the truth is, most women aren't starving for compliments. They're starving to be understood, to be seen, and you don't have to say something poetic or dramatic. Sometimes just telling her, "You look peaceful when you're quiet," or "I love hearing you think out loud," can stir something inside her that no pickup line ever could. You're telling her, "I see you when no one else is looking, and I like what I see," and that kind of love. It doesn't fade when her looks change. It doesn't depend on what she wears or how she appears in a photo. It doesn't disappear when she's tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. It stays, it grows, it becomes something sacred, because now her desire for you is wrapped in trust. She trusts that your eyes don't just follow beauty, they follow depth. They follow meaning, they follow her. You'll see the shift. She'll become softer around you, more open, more affectionate, not because you asked for it, but because you created a space where she didn't have to try. And when a woman feels that kind of freedom, her heart responds in ways that words can't fully describe. She'll desire you with a warmth that's rooted in safety. She'll choose you, not just because you noticed her, but because you chose to notice her when she didn't think anyone would. There's a moment every woman remembers forever. It's not the grand date, the perfect picture, or the shiny compliment. It's the moment when someone looked at her, really looked, and said, "You're enough, just like this." And if you can be that person, if you can make her feel adored in her quietest, simplest, most ordinary moments, you will own a part of her that no one else has touched, because admiration without expectation is rare. Most people praise her when she's performing, but when you love her when she's not trying, when you speak to the parts of her she thought were invisible, you don't just make her feel beautiful, you make her feel wanted. You make her feel safe, and in that safety, desire doesn't just grow, it flourishes. It deepens, it roots itself in her very being. That's how you trigger deep desire in a woman. You admire the soul behind the smile. You fall in love with the ordinary, and in doing so, you become extraordinary to her. 5. Give her emotional intimacy without forcing physical expectations. There's a deep, unspoken yearning in every woman's heart to be held, not just in arms, but in understanding. To be embraced, not just with hands, but with presence. And in a world that often rushes to take before it gives, to touch before it listens, and to claim before it truly sees, what a woman craves more than anything is emotional intimacy that comes with no strings attached. The kind that says, "I want to know your heart before I ask for your body." That kind of love, that kind of intention, that kind of restraint. It doesn't weaken desire, it strengthens it, it deepens it. It awakens something in her that is rare and sacred, because so many women have been conditioned to believe that love has to come at a cost, that vulnerability must be traded for validation, that physical closeness is the price they have to pay for affection. They've seen the patterns too often, the sudden shift in tone, the distance after a boundary is set, the withdrawal when they don't move fast enough, and each time that happens, it chips away at their trust. It whispers lies like, "I'm only desirable when I give more than I'm ready to." So when a man walks in with patience in his eyes, with gentleness in his presence, and with genuine interest in who she is rather than what she can offer, that man stands out. Emotional intimacy isn't built through grand speeches or perfect dates. It's built in the quiet moments, the ones where she's allowed to speak freely without interruption, where she can share her fears without being told to toughen up. Where her past doesn't scare you away, but draws you closer in compassion, when she says, "I'm not ready," and you don't flinch, when she confesses, "I've been hurt before," and you don't run, when she opens a wound and you don't try to fix it, you just sit with her in it. That is intimacy. That is presence. That is love without pressure. And here's what most men don't understand. When a woman feels emotionally safe, when she feels respected, when she feels like her no is just as honored as her yes, her desire for you grows naturally. Not because you demanded it, not because you manipulated it, but because you earned it. You created a space where she could trust you, not just with her time, but with her truth, and for a woman, that's everything. Desire is not fueled by how fast you can get close to her. It's fueled by how deeply you can stay close without crossing boundaries. It's in your ability to hold her hand without assuming you're owed more, to spend time with her without keeping score, to enjoy her presence without trying to unlock her like some kind of puzzle. Women aren't problems to be solved. They are hearts to be understood. And when you show her that her body is not the goal, but her heart is the treasure, you invite her into a kind of connection that few men will ever experience. Let her come to you freely. Let her reveal herself at her own pace. Let her know without question that your affection does not disappear when she sets limits, that your interest isn't a mask you wear to get what you want, that she can say "not yet," or "I'm scared," or "I need time," and still be met with warmth, with kindness, with admiration. When you give her emotional intimacy with no physical expectation, she will begin to associate you with peace instead of pressure, and peace is magnetic, it's unforgettable, it draws her in and makes her want to stay. She will remember the man who listened without reaching. She will remember the one who cared without conditions. She will remember the moment she realized that your love wasn't fragile or impatient, but steady and sure. And that memory will live inside her, not just as a moment, but as a feeling. A deep desire that grows not from lust, but from being fully seen, fully respected, fully cherished. You have to understand, so many women walk into love with wounds. Wounds from being pushed, from being used, from being made to feel like they had to give away parts of themselves just to be chosen. So when you offer her something different, when you give her presence over pressure, connection over conquest, you become a safe space. You become the kind of man who not only triggers her desire, but nurtures her healing, and that is something she will never forget. You don't need to prove your masculinity by how quickly you can escalate things. True masculinity is shown in your restraint, in your respect, in your reverence for her boundaries. It's in the way you honor her dignity over your desire. It's in your patience, and ironically, it's that very patience that unlocks something powerful within her. Because now, her intimacy with you is no longer wrapped in fear, it's wrapped in trust. And that kind of intimacy is deeper, more passionate, more lasting than anything forced or rushed. So hold her heart gently. Speak to her soul before you try to touch her skin. Create a bond where her story matters more than your agenda. Show her that love doesn't have to be earned through giving more than she's ready to. Let your energy say, "I want all of you, but I'm willing to wait until you're ready to give it." That's how you trigger deep desire. That's how you make her feel you. Not just in the moment, but in the memory, in the safety, in the stillness you created when the world was loud. And when the time comes when she chooses to give herself to you, not because she felt she had to, but because she wanted to, that moment will carry more meaning than 1,000 empty gestures. Because now, it's not just about desire. It's about connection. It's about trust. It's about knowing that you didn't just win her body, you earned her soul. When you make a woman feel safe, speak to her mind, remain consistent, admire her when she's unfiltered, and offer emotional intimacy without pressure, you don't just spark attraction, you awaken a lasting soul, deep desire. Because real desire isn't forced, it's felt, and when it's built on trust, presence, and respect, it doesn't fade, it grows. Be that man, and she'll never forget how you made her feel.